have already been given the blessing by Dr. Bowe, our acting campus rector. Thank you very much, Dr. B. I want to acknowledge the presence of our deans for both faculties at Queenstown campus. I acknowledge the presence of the HODs here present. Thank you, colleagues, for coming and honoring our event. And I want to acknowledge the presence of my colleagues who are coming from the other campuses. Thank you very much, colleagues. They will soon know why you are here and why this day is much brighter with your presence here today. But most of all, I want to appreciate my colleagues from the Queenstown campus, especially the presenters who are going to, I'm trying to find a word that will explain what the magic that they are going to do. But all I know is that I don't care what, I'm just pleased that you are here today. Thank you very much. This is not a day for us to speak, colleagues. This is a day for us to listen. So I will try to make my presentation as short as possible, just to explain the purpose of the grassroots events. The nice thing about being in a position that I'm in is that I don't have to think hard. I'm always told what to do. I was just told, go and tell and share the purpose of grassroots events. So that's what I'm going to do. Dr. Matope has already indicated that we decided to theme our presentation, this event, improving e-pedagogical excellence through e-learning technologies. He has dodged us because he's the one who's supposed to explain this for us and kind of unpack this. But I'm hoping that somebody in this room today probably will. Let's hold our thumbs, because there's a lot that is packed in that statement. There's a lot of terms that are used in that statement that are actually contested in the higher education space. For instance, the very concept of e-pedagogy, the concept of excellence, the concept of e-learning technologies, all those terms, they are packed with meaning, and if you try to dig deeper from those meanings, there's a lot that we can do in our small classrooms to actually promote digital literacies within the students that are enrolled in our disciplines. My outline would cover just briefly what blended learning is and what the purpose of grassroots event is at WSU, the process that we're going to follow today, as well as the adjudication team that we have today, and why the adjudication team. Blended learning. I decided that in order to attempt to unpack the purpose of grassroots events, perhaps it's okay to talk about blended learning a bit. Blended learning was introduced at Walter Sisulu University in 2009. It was then funded by the NAFIC project, and when it was introduced, it was actually piloted within the Faculty of Engineering. As it is the norm that when you want to introduce something, you start by testing it so that you see how it is received, so that you actually look at the challenges and how you can then mitigate those challenges based on context. So the same happens for learning and teaching. They need to have an LMS, and they adopted Blackboard, which they branded Wise Up. It is only in 2011 that they decided that, okay, now we can start rolling out the blended learning to the whole institution. because it was a small project at first, and the rolling out was well received by a number of faculties, but the challenge was adoption. Adoption remained slow, and this was made worse by the period of the administrator, when actually many activities at WSU were actually managed in a manner in which the administrator felt it was best. So, for instance, during that time when they started rolling out blended learning, we had e-learning conferences at WSU. There was a lot that was happening. People were going around the country and the international space presenting on blended learning, but during the period of the administrator, the whole adoption went down, boom. It was only in 2016, 2017 that we started noticing the increase again, when faculties again started picking up on blended learning, and the use of WiseHub was, the adoption improved a bit. We noticed an adoption rate of more than 50% at Queenstown campus, which was, it was below 50%. It was actually 48%. Sorry about that. So it's only in 2020 that we started noticing an adoption rate of above 60%. So this is our history of blended learning. I want to link this with the grassroots event. When they started introducing the blended learning in 2009, it is also then when they decided that, because many people were new to online learning, many people were new to blended learning, so they decided that, okay, the best way to bring people who are like-minded together was to have a grassroots event. The grassroots, as Umen has explained, is actually an event which looks at basics. We want to ensure that people are able to teach using technology. So they wanted to encourage people to adopt e-learning. They wanted to make sure that people who are using e-learning across the departments actually know each other. So basically, the purpose of grassroots events was to provide a safe space where lecturers can actually share good practices with other colleagues. So Unisikala has indicated that this is not a space for judgment. This is not a space for assessment. This is a space where, you know, grassroots. This is a space where people who are novice are actually given a platform to share their experiences, and in the process, they showcase their projects, the small projects that they are doing in their small spaces. The other purpose is to identify the advocates or the e-learning champions. In other words, as much as we know that we will be having these people, we hope that the people that have presented and have actually adopted e-learning will emerge as advocates in their departments and as champions for e-learning. There's so much that is packed when we talk about an advocate or a champion. For instance, Dr. Boy has just confessed that they are now beginning to decide as a faculty how they are going to use what blended learning means for them. He's indicated that now the university is actually recognizing that blended learning should be made a policy. Previously, CLTD had always remained accountable for reporting on blended learning. The faculties were not made to account, but CLTD would be the one who would present statistics on the adoption as well as the use of blended learning across the institution. So the advocates are actually the people who have explored e-learning and who are supposed to influence the policies in their own departments. They are the people who are supposed to assist each other colleagues in their departments. For instance, I was explaining in VCC yesterday and saying, if, for instance, we are talking blended learning, we need to think beyond blended learning as just a policy and think around how do we actually incorporate it in our learner guides? How do we ensure that everybody understands blended learning? Because you interpret at a campus level, you have to interpret it at faculty level, at departmental level, and then at personal level. We cannot teach in the same way. We teach differently because of our disciplines, because of the modules that we are teaching. So what does blended learning mean for you as an individual? So this is where we need to assist each other. We want to establish those e-learning teams in those departments. People who are like-minded, who can work together and support each other. We want to create a community of practice. For instance, I'm looking at it right now. I understand that we came here because we are interested in e-learning. So this is our community of practice. Now we know who is using what. After the presentation, we will know what areas are people venturing on. And we know what kind of assistance we can get from all of us around the campus. This has been added this year. It was started in 2009 to 2010, 2011, that some of the candidates participate in the Vice Chancellor's Excellence Award. And this year again, the candidates that will be presenting here would have an opportunity to be recommended in the Vice Chancellor's Excellence Award. The Vice Chancellor's Excellence Award is the highest award program. Professor Mkabile tried to explain it in PCC yesterday, differentiating from the recognition awards as well as the Vice Chancellor's Excellence Award. The Excellence Awards will be awarded during graduation, whilst the recognition awards will be awarded early this year. They just recognize good performance. But with Excellence Awards, they are attached to teaching and learning. So the people who win will be awarded during graduation in 2021. Lastly, we are hoping that we will be able to establish partnerships with the faculties, long-lasting partnerships that will help us to actually work very well on e-learning. The new developments. Since blended learning was introduced in 2009, since grassroots was introduced at WSU in 2009, there has been a lot of changes that we observed, especially starting from 2019. I actually noticed a change in meaning. For instance, previously we would have grassroots events where people who are participating are actually novice researchers or novice people who are doing e-learning. But we have noticed that we have a number of established e-learning users who are actually coming to present in our platforms. We also noticed that we have students. In Queenstown, we had students who participated, and even this year, we will be having students who are actually participating in the grassroots events. We have non-teaching staff, people who are not teaching, who will not be talking about assessment, and who will not be complying with many of the requirements that we are using during our assessment. So there's a lot of change in meaning since blended learning was conceptualized. So this is what we thought perhaps we should look at as the team. And we also acknowledged that we need to respect diversity, because we have got people who are coming from different disciplines with different capabilities, with different potentials in terms of how they implement blended learning. We recognize uniqueness, we recognize and we encourage innovation and creativity, and lastly, we support excellence. The process of adjudication. Yes.